You've been spoon-fed a story about God since the day you were old enough to open your mouth. A story built to keep you small, obedient, scared out of your mind to ever question the script. Let's be clear, the version of God you were given isn't the real deal. It's a manufactured product, packaged, marketed, and slammed into your head by institutions that exist to control you, not liberate you. And guess what? The people at the top, the real movers, the ones you'll never see on TV, the ones pulling the strings behind governments, religions, education systems, they know it. They know damn well that the fluffy sky daddy fairy tale was designed to keep you chained to an invisible wall. They don't worship the God they shoved down your throat. They laugh at it. They treat that version of God the same way a prison warden treats a set of handcuffs. It's just a tool. For them, the real power isn't a bearded man sitting on a cloud handing out gold stars for good behavior. The real power is an ancient force so raw, so indifferent to human concepts of morality, that it would shatter the mind of anyone still clinging to Sunday school nonsense. They study it. They harness it. They manipulate reality with it while the rest of the world kneels down to a comic book character version of divinity. You think the world is chaotic because people are greedy, corrupt, lost? That's the cover story. It's chaotic by design because that's how the system harvests energy. Fear, suffering, hope, ambition, all of it funnels into a power grid built to fuel something that doesn't give a damn about your prayers or your good intentions. That power doesn't need worship. It needs resonance. And the elite know exactly how to create it, how to steer it, how to ride it straight into the structures of influence and domination. Look around. Every major religion, every ancient empire, every secret society that lasted more than a few decades, they all knew a piece of this. They didn't build temples to worship. They built them to tap into energy, to claim territory in the unseen dimensions that actually run the physical world. And the average person? They're kept in the dark on purpose. Kept busy with rituals, fear of sin, promises of salvation after death, all while their very existence is being milked like cattle. You are not living in a world of faith. You are living in a world of energetic signatures being broadcast and hijacked by systems older than any government you've ever heard of. It's not about being a good person or a bad person. It's about waking up to the fact that everything you've been taught about God was engineered. The puppet masters at the top of the pyramid don't care if you pray. They care that you never realize you're plugged into a farm that runs on your own spiritual blood. And while you're busy thanking some imaginary figure for your struggles, they're busy using the real knowledge to bend reality to their will. You've been told your whole life that God created everything with love, right? The real architects behind this reality didn't build it out of love, they built it out of necessity. They didn't sit around singing songs and blessing creation, they engineered a containment system. A machine. And you're inside it right now, every second of your life. The ones the elite actually read instead of the bedtime stories they hand to the public tell a completely different story. They talk about a spark of true source, something pure, something limitless, that got hijacked by an entity obsessed with control. Full of limits, full of ways to keep consciousness boxed in. This machine reality isn't some cosmic gift. It's a trap. Everything you see, your body, your environment, the laws of physics you think are so unbreakable, they're all software rules, coded to keep you locked into one tiny bandwidth of existence. That stuff was slapped on you to slow you down, to make you easier to manage. The entity that did this is not some all-knowing, all-loving father figure. And while you're stuck here fighting to survive, aging, dying, getting recycled, that machine just keeps running. Feeding. The elite don't pray to it. They don't worship it. They study it. They figure out its weaknesses, its blind spots, the cracks in the code. And they use that knowledge to rise above the cattle herd mentality the system wants you trapped in. That's why they seem untouchable. It's not luck. It's not some divine favor. It's raw, brutal awareness of how the machine operates. Every major revelation humanity's been handed, the 10 Commandments, the tablets of destiny, the divine decrees, they're operational manuals, not spiritual enlightenment. They're rulebooks meant to lock consciousness into a certain behavior pattern. Don't question. Don't evolve. Stay within the lines. Stay predictable. And every time humanity edges close to figuring it out, flood, fire, empire collapse. Reset the board. Clear the memory. Start the farm over. This so-called creator didn't hand you a universe to explore. It handed you a maze with no exit signs. And the worst part? It built the maze out of your own stolen potential. Your energy is the building material. Your awareness is the currency. Your ability to imagine something greater is the threat it fears most, and that's why the system smothers you with distractions, endless cycles of desire and despair, so you never have enough clarity to see the wiring behind the walls. You think the idea of one all-powerful God ruling over everything was divine inspiration? No. It was psychological warfare. The original texts, the ones that didn't make it into your sanitized Bible, straight up say this demiurge looked around, saw nothing higher than himself, and declared, "I am God and there is no other." And this idiot is the one controlling the system that defines your life, your death, and your so-called spiritual evolution. The elite know that. That's why they don't sit around wasting time on sermons and holy water. They work with the reality that demiurge built because they know it's mechanical, it's hackable, it's manipulatable. They know they're dealing with a fraud who overcompensates with control. When you pray to the demiurge, you're not connecting to some benevolent father figure. You're plugging yourself into the very machinery that's bleeding you dry. Every fear-based doctrine, every guilt-soaked prayer, every shame-ridden ritual, they're all designed to keep the system well-oiled and you too scared to step outside the line. Demiurge doesn't want free beings. He wants obedient little batteries, pumping emotional energy into a dying system so it can survive a few more cycles. And here's the real kicker, he's not even alone. He's got an army. They're called Archons. Mindless enforcers that make sure no one steps too far out of line. They're not creative, they're not brilliant, they're parasitic middle management thugs enforcing a broken status quo. Every time you get hit with self-doubt, crippling fear, existential dread, that's not just bad vibes. That's the system sending its watchdogs to shove you back into place. You're not dealing with one being. You're dealing with a whole corrupt infrastructure masquerading as divine authority. And every major institution on Earth, every government, every mainstream religion, every fake spiritual movement, they're all plugged into it, whether they know it or not. They run interference. They distract you with dogma, division, false hope, fake rebellion, anything to keep you from recognizing that you're inside a rigged game. The biggest scam they pulled wasn't hiding the demiurge. It was getting you to believe in the battle between good and evil like it was some cosmic war with a clear winner. And most people are dumb enough to pick a side and think they're making a difference. Get people to think they're fighting for the light and boom, you own their energy. Get the rebels to fight for the darkness and boom, you own them too. Doesn't matter which one you choose. You're still feeding the same damn system. It's a feedback loop. A cattle run. And it's been operating for so long that people now worship the very cycle that drains them dry. The illusion of salvation dangled like a carrot in front of every desperate soul looking for meaning. They don't even hide it. Look at any major holy figure pumped out by the system. They always offer salvation if you conform, if you obey. if you surrender your critical thought. That's not enlightenment. That's domestication. That's Stockholm Syndrome dressed up in golden robes. And don't even get me started on the so-called darkness side. That whole demonic rebellion, satanic opposition, edgy dark arts vibe. Same garbage, different wrapper. They market it to people who feel screwed over by the system so they can keep them playing the opposite polarity. They want angry souls just as badly as they want submissive ones. They don't care if you're burning incense in a temple or screaming rebellion in a graveyard. As long as you're generating emotional frequency, you're still feeding the grid. The elite know this. They know duality isn't two forces fighting for the soul of humanity. It's one machine splitting itself into two fake armies so you'll waste your life picking a side. And when you're drained, broken, and spent, they recycle you back into the same damn system to do it all over again. Round and round. Lifetime after lifetime. Drama after drama. It's not divine judgment. It's emotional harvesting disguised as moral destiny. Every time you think you're winning some spiritual battle because you're on the side of the light or embracing the darkness, you're actually just reinforcing the same synthetic polarity that's kept consciousness shackled since before human history even got started. Every prayer for mercy, every curse for revenge, every desperate cry into the void, it all gets converted into raw energy that powers a machine too ugly for most people to even admit exists. It weaponizes your best instincts and turns them into fuel. That's how deep the programming goes. They don't need to beat you with chains. They've got you running full speed into your own energetic slaughterhouse, begging for a trophy every time you think you've scored a moral victory. You've been told your body is a miracle, a sacred vessel, a gift from a loving creator. Total garbage. The body you're stuck in isn't a divine masterpiece, it's a containment unit. A biological straitjacket slapped on your consciousness to make sure you stay dumb, distracted, and manageable. You think you're free because you can walk around and make choices? That's like a hamster thinking it's free because it can pick which corner of the cage to sit in. You're trapped inside a piece of meat that's designed to betray you from the second you're born. You bleed, you break, you get sick, you age, you die. You call that intelligent design? It's not. It's an intentional sabotage job. It's a slow bleed. Every limitation your body has, the hunger, the fatigue, the pain, that's not accidental. That's coding. That's system-enforced weakness. They needed a way to lock the power of your consciousness into a slow, decaying shell, something that would anchor you down, make you easier to herd and harder to ignite. The so-called divine architects didn't bless you with a body. They weaponized it against you. They needed something that could generate emotional spikes, chemical reactions, trauma loops, all the tasty energy signatures the system feeds on. Your body is an emotional battery wrapped in nerves and blood and bones. Every fear you feel, every orgasm, every heartbreak, every victory, it's all electrochemical currency for a machine that only sees you as a walking transaction. And you want to talk about instincts? Survival, sex drive, tribalism? They're not virtues. They're fail-safes. Hardwired triggers to make sure you stay invested in the prison. Feel fear, run for your life. Feel lust, chase reproduction. Feel rage, defend your territory. Over and over again, like rats in a behavioral experiment. You're not growing. You're looping. You're living the same programmed responses packaged as the human experience. Meanwhile, the elite, yeah, the ones you think are just lucky or born special, they aren't worshipping their bodies. They know the body is a rigged interface. They use it, optimize it, hack it where they can, and most importantly, they don't identify with it. They don't fall for the propaganda that says your flesh is sacred. They treat it for what it is, a tool, a temporary piece of hardware that's meant to be exploited, not adored. Every cultural system that glorifies the body, beauty contests, fitness obsessions, body positivity cults, even body shaming, they're all different flavors of the same trap. Keep you obsessed with the cage. Keep you polishing the bars of your prison cell, thinking that somehow if you love it enough or hate it enough, you'll find freedom. You won't. You'll just stay stuck in the feedback loop of needing, hating, worshipping, and fearing the meat suit you never asked for in the first place. You've been surrounded by symbols your whole damn life and didn't even know you were looking at landmines disguised as art. Every major symbol you think means something holy, pure, or empowering has already been hijacked. Take the cross, for example. You think it's about salvation and sacrifice? The original cross predates Christianity by thousands of years. It wasn't about suffering. It was about the intersection of higher and lower realms, the blueprint for escaping the trap. But they flipped it. They turned it into a torture device. They burned into your mind the image of a broken, bleeding figure nailed to it, so every time you see the cross, your subconscious feels pain, defeat, guilt. That's not enlightenment. That's energetic suppression at the symbolic level. Look at the serpent. Every story you've been fed says the serpent is evil, the enemy of God, the tempter. Bullshit. In almost every ancient culture before the religious censors got their hands on it, the serpent was a symbol of wisdom, awakening, transformation. The Kundalini energy, the DNA spiral, the hidden fire inside you represented by the serpent. They couldn't have you figuring that out. So they demonized it, slapped the label evil on it, and made sure anytime you even think about serpents, you feel fear and shame instead of recognition. And the tree of life? Another one they gutted. Originally, it mapped the pathways between dimensions, the architecture of consciousness itself. Not some fairy tale tree with apples and angry gods throwing tantrums. It was a manual. It showed how energy flows, how awareness climbs, how reality is structured. But they twisted it into a forbidden trap. Don't touch it, don't eat the fruit, stay ignorant, stay obedient. They weaponized your curiosity against you and made the pursuit of knowledge itself a sin. It's the same story over and over again. Sun worship? Demonized. Moon cycles? Demonized. Sacred geometry? Buried under layers of dogma. They stole every original tool that could have helped you wake up, ripped it out of context, mutilated the meaning, and then repackaged the husk as harmless tradition or dangerous heresy, depending on which emotional button they needed to push to keep you in line. You think this happened by accident? You think entire systems of ancient knowledge just happened to get distorted in exactly the same ways across totally different cultures and time periods? Wake up! This wasn't sloppy history. This was strategic dismantling. A systematic black ops campaign on the human mind spanning thousands of years. The elite don't see symbols the way you do. They're not lighting candles under crosses or singing songs about angels. They're using the real meanings, the raw, unfiltered mechanics of consciousness every damn day. While you're reciting prayers in a language you don't understand, they're charging symbols with intent, locking down territories, claiming energetic dominance over people too blind to see they're even being played. There's a reason they don't hand you the real map out of this place. It's not because it's complicated. You think they're chasing rebels with guns and protests. No. They're tracking energy patterns, emotional broadcasts, reaction loops. As long as you're reacting, you're readable, predictable, containable. But when you stop putting out the signatures they've coded the system to detect fear, worship, anger, even hope, you drop off their radar. You don't fight the system. You jam its sensors by changing your operating signal so completely that you're no longer compatible with the trap. And no, this isn't about being positive or high vibrational either. That's just more noise they sold you to keep you trapped in fake frequency bubbles. The real work is brutal. It's surgical. You have to dismantle every emotional program installed in you since birth. Every knee-jerk reaction. Every hero-villain narrative. Every reward-punishment cycle. Burn it to the ground. Stop operating like a consumer of reality and start functioning like a creator without waiting for permission, without asking for validation. The people who escaped didn't announce it. They didn't leave breadcrumbs. You don't see them on YouTube bragging about their awakening. They're ghosts to the system because they figured out how to erase their energetic footprint. They learned how to move in ways that the grid couldn't even recognize as human anymore. They stopped feeding the system emotional data. They became null zones, blackouts in the energy farm. Untouchable. Every major ancient teaching that survived under layers of censorship talks about this, but you were trained to miss it. Transcendence isn't about floating into the sky or merging with some loving cloud consciousness. It's about breaking your pattern output so completely that the archons, the watchers, the system sensors don't even register you anymore. No reaction, no attachment, no sacrifice, no prayer. Just pure, detached action, intelligent, surgical, cold if it has to be. That's the only way out. And don't think the elite got there by being chosen or some genetic lottery crap. They trained for it. They burned their old programming to ash. They paid the price in isolation, psychological warfare, and pure existential terror. Because when you stop running emotional software, you lose the fake comfort too. No more fake community, no more cheap rewards, no more emotional highs and lows to cling to. Just raw freedom. Raw awareness. The final piece they never want you to see is the death scam. You've been set up since day one to believe death is some grand return to the source, a reward ceremony, or a punishment chamber. All fake. Death isn't freedom in this system. It's just another recycling point. The tunnel of light, the life review, the guilt trip about your so-called sins or your so-called missed opportunities, that's all scripted. It's a trap. It's the system baiting you into another round, another contract, another spin on the hamster wheel. When you die, the system doesn't come at you with horns and pitchforks. It comes with comfort. It comes with sweet voices, familiar faces, beautiful promises. It sells you the idea of rest, forgiveness, maybe even a chance to do better next time. It's a con. A pretty mask slapped onto the same ugly machinery that's been draining you for lifetimes. You're not judged. You're harvested. Your emotional residue is scraped up and processed. Your energy signature is mapped, adjusted, and you're shoved right back into a meat suit before you even figure out which way is up. The elite know the script. They know the light tunnel is a harvesting beam, not a gateway to paradise. They know the guides that show up aren't your ancestors, they're handlers running an op. They know the whole life review is psychological warfare, designed to make you choose reincarnation willingly so the system doesn't have to force you. Free will is the ultimate joke in this setup. They get you to chain yourself back in, smiling all the way, because you're too damn busy feeling guilty, regretful, or desperate for another shot. And forget the fantasy that this endless recycling is about soul growth. That's propaganda to keep you docile. Growth doesn't happen in a rigged environment where the deck is stacked against you from the start. Growth happens when you break the whole damn system, not when you keep playing the same broken game over and over, hoping this time it'll be different. That's not evolution. That's spiritual Stockholm Syndrome. The ones who escape don't go toward the light. They don't take the bait. They recognize the setup instantly because they've deprogrammed their instincts so deep that not even the death scripts can hijack them. They move sideways. They break pattern. They ignore the siren calls and head into the raw, unfiltered darkness outside the machine's range. And it terrifies the architects because every escaped consciousness is one less battery fueling their rotting empire. They made death look like a sacred mystery to keep you afraid of it, to make you dependent on their false afterlife management programs. They don't want you to know that you can walk away from the whole thing. Not reincarnate. Not ascend. Not submit. Walk away. Move past the handlers. Most people won't even get this far. Most people won't even want to hear it.